Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the 162nd edition of Cinema Effect. I'm Zach, and I'm joined by Disney's number one hater, Jaden.
G'day.
Good morning. How did it feel seeing that Walt Disney castle at the start of this movie, by the way?
No, I don't think I even paid attention to it. I honestly don't think I noticed it until you just said it now.
Oh, I thought it was pretty jarring, to be honest.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
really?
weird.
No.
We've also got PTA's number one fanboy, a.k.a. Fitzy, a.k.a. Liam.
Hello, how are you?
Very good, thank you. I'm glad that you're doing
That's good.
well. And joining us, of course, to ride out into the sunset of the Indiana Jones saga, we've got Dave Filoni, the Soul Slayer, Dr. Luke.
Hello. Greetings. Howdy.
Howdy indeed. All right. Man, I've got to shake off the rust, you know. I appreciate Liam and Jaden for looking after the show while I was gone, but I'm also, I must admit, totally prepared for the views to just plummet. You know what I mean? They did a good job. The views were strong, and now it's all over. But, you know, you're going to have to deal with me. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Cinema Effect, the podcast where we review and talk about a different movie every single Monday. And this week, that movie is Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Long anticipated. This movie's been talked about for years, which was made clear to me by reading the trivia. It opened in the US on June 30th, 2023. It was directed by James Mangold. Big shoes to fill. It is an action-adventure film, and the synopsis says, archaeologist Indiana Jones races against time to retrieve a legendary artefact that can change the course of history. Yes, indeed. Okay, I'm very excited for this. I'm going to start with Fitzy because he's the only one I've got zero read on coming into this. So, how did you enjoy Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny and your theatrical experience?
Oh, well, the theatrical experience was hilarious because someone had the same ticket as us, so it was in our seat, and we had to move seats like 5 times. But the movie itself was it was okay. I enjoyed it. I was engaged, had a good time. It wasn't like super memorable or amazing, but I think it was decent.
Okay.
Is my word.
Got you. Jaden, what about you? We didn't talk about it much. We talked about some like detail things, like some quick things, but I don't really know your overall impressions either.
I didn't mind it. Is kind of the gist of the entire kind of review. There's certainly things that I enjoyed more than Spielberg's, and there's definitely things that I think were lacking. And I think the key to that was that it didn't feel as fun as Spielberg's originals. I think it's pretty undeniable that, you know, no matter what the action that was presented or the characters that were done, I think a lot of the fun was lacking, and they tried to make up for it in the cameos, but then like even those kind of weren't there.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about that for sure. For anyone else, does Jaden look like he's like sitting in the shadows, like he's some sort of ominous villain, right?
I'll see that.
Oh, he's coming back a little bit. Oh no, it depends on his laptop screen light. Oh man, I'll jump in. I like a lot of the film's ideas and what it tries to do, and for the most part, it sounds great. It looks great. I think Mangold did a good job. It's very capably directed. But I think I'm the lowest on it here. It didn't really work for me in the end. I think the length was a huge factor. The story and characters mostly fell flat for me. And I was just pretty bored for large chunks of this one. Found myself regularly daydreaming and shit. And I don't know, like structurally, the way it's all laid out on paper is pretty cool. It's pretty classic Indiana Jones stuff where you have the cool opening prologue sequence that sort of sets up some things, but it's just in itself a fun piece. And then you get the flash forward into his current life, and then you go on the globe-trotting adventure and all that. So, you know, it follows the formula and it does so well. So, like, everything on paper kind of makes sense, but I don't know. And especially with it culminating in ancient Rome, that just sounds dope, you know. That sounds really cool. But actually watching it, I don't know, it didn't really live up to that for a variety of reasons for me. Luke, Dr. Jones, what did you think of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny? You've seen it twice, so that is quite cool as well.
I have seen it twice, yeah. I think I shot myself in the foot, and I hyped this up for myself way too much. And so when I went in on the first watch, I walked out of it with a lot of things saying, "Oh, I wasn't too sure." When I watched it the second time, it was a much more. I enjoyed it much more on the second watch than I did on the first one. I think you bring up a really good. It was Jaden. It was a really good point you brought up about fun. How like this movie was less fun because and I think one of the reasons. I mean, the reason why that's probably the case is Harrison Ford is just too old to have as much fun as they could have in the first one. Like they tried to keep it up. They kept it there, like in the scene when they're sort of doing the black market deal, and he brings out the whip and he goes like, "Get back!" and then they all point the gun out. It's like, okay, that's like that fun that Spielberg had in the originals, where here's the assumption, here's what you assume, then the rug gets pulled out from under. So they tried to capture it, but it was just the direction is just so different from the original trilogy, and even Crystal Skull it felt different from. But that doesn't mean that just because it's not the same as the other movies doesn't mean that it's not good. And I think that was the problem I had with the first watch. I went into it thinking this is going to be a lot like the original 4. But then after the second time watching it, I've sort of realized, oh, this is a different movie in its own right. And it helps that there's a different director to sort of separate that in your mind. And so if I sort of start to view it as this is an old Indiana Jones who's essentially like he doesn't want to live now. He's so obsessed. He's more obsessed with the past than he ever has been. And it's like, because he's divorced, his son's dead. He hates all these, he's just grumpy all the time. He's upset with the moon landing and all these sorts of things. He doesn't care much for the new world that he's being thrown into. He would much rather go back into the past and relive those glory days. And so given that idea and theme is so absent from the first the first 4 movies, a little bit in the fourth one, but the fourth one doesn't really lean into it that much, whereas this one is much more of a meditation on that. And so I think when I view it in that perspective, it's a really enjoyable movie. I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. What did your Nan think? Nan, right? Not Gran. Nan, you call her Nan?
Nana.
Everyone's different.
Nana. Yeah, she
think?
loved it. Oh, it was so much fun. Like she calls out during movies, and but it's so cute. It's not like obnoxious. It's really cute what she does. So like whenever there's like a scene where, like the scene when they're in the street and he's going like I can't remember what the chant is, but it's when he's like blending into the crowd and the first Nazi like shoots the gun and they all drop down. She sort of went like, oh, and she sort of she thought that was really funny. And then, like, a lot of the other, like, when Salah goes, like, give him hell, Indiana Jones, and then he almost gets hit by a car, she sort of, like, jumped back in her seat and was like, oh, he almost got hit by a car. So watching it with that lens made it much more enjoyable on the second time. But, yeah, she loved it. Yeah. It was so sweet. At the end of the movie, everyone was sort of getting up to leave, and she said, oh, I want to stay and listen to the music. And I was like, oh, that's amazing. I loved it. Yeah.
That's fantastic. That's really, really cool. I want to touch on this point actually a bit about the fun factor, because I totally agree with you, Jaden. And I want to figure out why though, because I just think that I don't think if you look at the pieces in play, if you look at all the different action set pieces, if you look at aspects of the humor and the characters and stuff, like I feel like it shouldn't lack the fun, but there's a certain energy that isn't there. And I want to try and see how we feel about that, because for me, the reason I'd say I agree is just because it's just so long. I thought this movie was way too long, and that sort of just sapped definitely an element out of it from me watching it, because I don't know, like sometimes 2.5 hour films, like I don't even feel it. This one was like, I really think the direct comparison to the previous films and why it feels so different as a viewing experience is because of its length, and they'd always usually hit that 2 hour runtime pretty clean. And I think even though in a lot of ways, like as I said, structurally, it is a very similar film, it's not unfamiliar, but that length just seems to change the experience watching it, in my opinion anyway. Is that do you agree with that? Is that what it was for you, or were there other things that you thought were lacking as well?
I don't disagree with that, like, at all. Like, it certainly is, like, the length is definitely a present factor and, like, one that weighs on you. But I just think there's, like, a lot of... I think there's a lot of charm that comes from films being made in the 80s that contribute to that factor as well. Because there's, like, a softness to them that you kind of lose in this modern age. And no matter how hard you try to recreate sets or feelings or whatever, I think there's just this directness that saps some of the character. And, this does come down to a lot about feel and no specific science. Like I like someone could say they feel the exact opposite, and I'm not going to disagree because I don't really have anything to back this up. But like, I just think that the way that Spielberg handled the subject, and I think the way that the films were made just had this innate charm that was lacking in the modern product. And I think even in the 2008 one, I think you felt that to a sense, but since it was the same creator, he was able to rescue it to a degree. But I think losing out on both of those factors this time meant that it was definitely a presence.
Do you think that the filmmaking, and you point out specifically about the charm of it being made, of the trilogy being made in the 80s, is the actual like execution of the action scenes and just how the movie is made overall an element of that? Because that is something that I was thinking about, is how, even though like on paper you sort of, I don't know, you sort of look and it's like a lot of the action scenes are sort of similar stuff, familiar stuff. You got fist fights and got some gun combat and some vehicle stuff. It all sort of feels the same. But when you're making it, when it's so CGI heavy in a 2023 version versus, it has a different feel, I think, watching it, versus a lot of the practical stunts they were doing. And I think that might be an element as well. It
goes back to something you said ages ago about, like, you said it in relation to animation, how, like, you can control everything. But, and I guess, like, in the way that you can control everything when you do the CGI, and, like, it just feels too... like it feels too exactly too manufactured. Yeah. It doesn't. You lose some of the danger and kind of some of the improvisation of on-site stuff, And I think that always contributed to, like, a sense, especially in Last Crusade, because that's the one that I've mainly attached to. So that's the one I'm thinking of, really. And I think back to the tank in that movie, and I'm like, that was fucking just innately fun. That was way more fun having Harrison Ford hanging off a tank, rather than any of him jumping on train cars, hanging off the train car type thing.
Well, what about in Temple of Doom when they're in the temple and they're in like that mining facility and they're fighting on the conveyor belt and the steamrollers in the background, like that sort of thing. That, like, to me, that captures that fun that you're talking about, Jaden, where it's like it's practical and it's just stunt people on this bit fighting.
Yeah, I just want Harrison Ford at risk is pretty much what I'm saying.
You want them all throwing dirt and mud on his face like they did that time.
Yeah.
Every time. How do you feel about this, Fitzy? How did you enjoy the action? Because it sounded like from your opening monologue, is that? Never thought to call them that. But it sounded like you sort of had the most fun of all of us potentially. So is that something that weighed on you at all? And did you get a lot out of the action in this one?
No, yeah. I think the action sets were, like, well done. They were definitely lacking fun in some sense. So I think the like reactions of the villains like plays into that as well. Because, like, when I think of Crystal Skull, you think of, like, I think of, like, the Russian guy who, like, gets his face, like, eaten by ants or whatever, and he has that massive, like, reaction to it. And in this, the villains were just kind of characters, I guess, and they weren't really like Indiana Jones villains as much. They didn't have that goofiness. So I think there was, like, goofy element lacking. Yeah. But, like, I think, like, the prologue, the action there was really great.
Okay.
I don't know if I'd call anything after that great, but I think it was still, well done, I guess, yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So was actually that's we can definitely talk about the prologue. It was definitely like my standout action scene of the movie. Was it all of our favorites though?
No, I didn't really feel it.
No. Okay. All right.
What exactly was it that was so appealing?
It felt like
I feel like
it
it captured. I feel like it captured the originals the most in that. Like specifically at like when he's being hung up, and the bomb goes through,
yeah.
and they all disappear, and then he's trying to get himself off, but the thing keeps falling, and then he needs to quickly get it off his head before it falls down. That felt very original trilogy.
That part I agree with, but the train stuff is what I thought you guys were talking about, and like the train stuff I didn't love.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I liked the train stuff. My favorite parts of it actually sort of in a similar vein because it is very much just sort of Indy being Indy, and I like the little moments when he's like running and walking and trying to disguise himself through the carriages.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah.
That's not. It's not even like it's a part of the entire set piece, obviously, but like it's not even necessarily the action itself. But it's like that blended in with everything. I quite enjoyed. Yeah.
Yeah. I like the when they were fighting on top of the train and they were going under the tunnels. Like
that's where it lost me.
Really? Like when he held him up
Right.
against the roof of the tunnel and he was being like dragged along, that felt exactly ripped out of Last Crusade when he's getting dragged along the side of the tank, or Raiders when he's getting dragged behind the truck. Like I got vibes of, because he gets dragged by things a lot. So I was like, oh, they've done the Indy being dragged by something thing here.
He does get dragged by things a lot. That's true.
Yeah. Well, how jarring was it for you that it was young Indy but old Harrison voice?
Super jarring. I was couldn't wait to get to talking about the deep fake CG element. I love asking everyone this because it's usually highly subjective. And Jade and I already, when we walked out of the theater, we talked about it a little bit, and we were already on a different page with it. But Luke, how did you feel about it though?
It didn't bother me. It didn't really bother me as much as I thought it would. There were a few moments that took me out of it. The voice was something that it was a little jarring, but like everything else I was fine with. But one of the scenes, it's when Basil shoots him and he sort of looks up. It is like, not me, him. That like the way that he reacted to that getting shot was just a little weird. So that bit bugged me. But like the first bit when they pull the hood off him, and when he's being hung, and then when he gets in the motorcycle and rides off and all that was fine. I didn't have a problem with that at all.
Okay. Yeah, sure. I don't think it's worth pointing out, and it shouldn't be underestimated, by the way, that this sequence was, how long was it, do you reckon? 15, 20 minutes-ish? It's pretty long.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's worth pointing out that, like, the main issue, like the main little thing you saw is like, oh, I don't know about that, was like 10 seconds of 20 minutes of this tech on display. And it's crazy to think how far we've come since, I think that the first, there was Tron Legacy and stuff, but the first real example that comes to mind immediately for me is Rogue One, and how far we've come. Because Carrie Fisher was on screen for 3 seconds and everyone hyper-critiqued that, and, that was only, 7, whatever it was, years ago. And now we've got full 20-minute sections of films where this stuff is like feasible and being done, which is pretty crazy in that sense, I guess. But Fitzy, how did you feel about this? Was it a factor for you at all?
No, I thought the deepfake, whatever CGI was good, but the voice was like, I didn't actually know it was Harrison Ford's actual voice. I was like, is this like an impersonator or something? Because it was a little off, especially in like the interrogation scene where he's getting like hung up. But like after that, I didn't really take too much note of it. I just kind of bought into it.
Just went with it. Yeah, for sure. Where do you stand, Jaden?
I'd no issue with it at all.
At all? Okay.
I know. I know. I think Andy pointed out that when the light hit his face in a certain way in the interrogation, it seemed like, or was that you? I can't remember. But someone brought up that like that was jarring to them. But to me, I was like, this is 1980. I was like, this is like, it's crazy that they thought to film this back then. Voice I had no issue either.
Okay.
I don't feel like his voice has changed. That like if you play it side by side, I'm sure it would. But like to me, that's just Harrison Ford. Like there isn't really a distinction between old and young.
Oh, okay.
There's a
Okay.
bit more of a distinction for me. I can definitely, like, having watched the originals so many times, that it's,
Was I
to
talking
me,
about-
it's pretty, like, I can tell, yeah.
Man. Yeah, again, like totally different take. I definitely didn't point out the lighting thing. I didn't notice that. But I thought it looked great. I was very impressed with that. To me, it was the lip syncing didn't work for me. It like at times there was like it looks like I'm playing an RPG or something. Like the lips didn't quite match. I feel like the words, and the voice was weird for me at times for sure. Like probably 80% of the time it was okay, but like every few lines there was one there I was like, oh, that was a bit weird because the voice is being digitally altered as well. So it's sometimes can sort of sound like it's being slightly like auto-tunes, obviously the most simplistic way to put it, but it's being slightly altered in a weird way that sounded odd to me. But yeah, outside of that, no, I thought it looked really, really good. Just all the moments where he's not speaking, like if he's just looking around, like that's some pretty cool shit. And I can't wait to see. And I'm also, don't want to get into a deeper conversation, but I'm also slightly scared to see where we're going to be in 10 years if this is how far we've come this quick, It's going to be pretty wild. I think we're going to have, so James just made, we're going to have AI created movies where it's just all the famous actors together, just created by computers, and it's flawless. It's going to be weird.
Wasn't the reason why it was so good was because they had access to all of Harrison Ford's stills and images from Star Wars and the previous Indiana Jones? Yeah. So that makes me wonder what happened to Carrie Fisher's one in Rogue One. Was that the same thing, or was that because is there a difference between CGI and deepfake? CGI to me seems like they're starting from scratch, whereas deepfake seems like they have a reference photo that they use and filter over an existing face. So is there a difference?
My understanding is that the process, either way, they use the same techniques. Like they'll always look at reference footage and they'll always do that. But my understanding is that deepfake is like a new method / evolution that uses AI. So Rogue One didn't use it, I don't believe. That it's sort of a newer thing.
Right.
So like Rogue One was more like, I think, painted, if that makes sense.
Right.
Like it was more manually done. Deepfake is the thing that takes the all the reference footage. It's the AI that does that. Does its thing or whatever. Yeah, that's crazy. So they just have like hundreds of hours of reels of Harrison Ford when he was young, and they just basically feed it to the computer, and that's sort of where they start. So that's crazy. But speaking of Harrison Ford, once again, I've got to give this guy his props, man. I feel like he saved this movie for me. That might sound a bit extreme, but I think he's still a great presence on screen all these years later. Super enjoyable to watch. I know people give him a hard time, like in interviews and shit, that he's like, he's an old man, he's grumpy, whatever. But like, I don't know, on screen, I think it's really clear, and it's always been clear to me in his recent works as well, but especially here, like, he really gives a shit, I think, about this character and about his, being an actor and being a big actor. So, and he was paid $20 million as well. That helps. But I thought, I thought he was really, really strong in the movie. I don't know. I feel like it goes back to what you were saying. Like I think it just helps that the aging sort of hero story just really appeals to me. I just think it's a really strong sort of thing for him to be able to latch on to character wise in this story, and I think he does a really good job of it all the way through.
Yeah,
so
I think it's Ford. Yeah, super solid performance from Mr. Ford. Can we call him Harry?
Do his friends call him Harry?
I wouldn't imagine so.
Fitzy, does Harrison Ford, watching him as an old 80-year-old dude who, some critics would say 15 years ago for Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, mate, get to the retirement home. He's still here. Is he as fun to watch as he was back in the day?
No, yeah, Harrison Ford definitely, delivers the goods. But I don't know how well the movie actually tackled his, his situation, his aging. I think it kind of dipped in and out of, thematically addressing it. Like there was jokes here and there with the with Fleabag and that, but I don't think it fully.
With Fleabag.
Yeah, I don't think it fully went there where it was like like a great thematic thing or whatever.
Yeah, that's actually true. The way Luke, it helps, of course, that he's seen it twice. The way that you talked about some of the themes at the start, Luke, I really liked the way you summarized it. I thought that was really interesting. And I definitely was picking that up, elements of it. But I sort of agree, maybe a rewatch would help. And we'll get to the ending as well. I don't want to jump ahead. But the ending was reshot. So I think there's some pieces here that, like, yeah, I agree. It didn't quite hit me that hard. But there's definitely strong elements of it, though, because my favorite scene in the movie, honestly, like, I'm no cap. This probably sounds weird. No one has this opinion, probably.
Oh, it's weird that you've said no cap, but that's fine. That's weird.
Is it? I'm sorry.
It's weird coming from your mouth. Yeah.
That shouldn't be in your vocabulary.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Been hanging out on the streets with those hoodlums.
Yeah, hooligans.
Mate, America changes it. Los Angeles changes a man. My favorite scene in the movie is when we cut forward from the prologue, and I just really love, like, they're walking off sort of under the bridge, and the music's sort of going, and it's like, oh yeah, this is Indiana Jones, and then we hard cut to him as an old dude, and he gets up with his shirt off, and he's like, grumpy old man needs to go and turn the music down. Genuinely my favorite scene in the movie. I think Harrison's really good in it. I love the choice of him having no shirt on too. Like, no joke.
I like that he puts his shirt on backwards.
Oh, does he?
Yeah. He puts his shirt on backwards and back to front because his tag is at the front sticking out. And you can sort of see through his back the colorings of the front of the shirt. Yeah. I only saw that on the second rewatch. I didn't see it on the first time, but I did like that. Yeah.
Damn. Add it to the watch list again. That was a great choice because I love seeing that contrast of, like, look at this guy in his prime and immediately look at him now. And that sort of sets us up for the continuation of the story. And those sort of fewer, quieter moments that they do pick at in that respect, in terms of tackling that theme we're talking about, that's where the movie, like, really grabs me. I really, really like that stuff. And I think it's a ballsy choice, honestly. Like, respect to Harrison Ford, like, a lot of actors, his age wouldn't be like, oh yeah, get me up close shirtless. You know what I mean? Old man bod, no disrespect at all. Like, I think it's fantastic. So yeah, that's sort of, when I see elements like that, I'm like, oh, that's clearly deliberate and really clever. I like it. But then, I don't know, yeah, it sort of loses it a little bit along the way. It's not like I didn't walk out of the first viewing with as clear of an identity of the themes as Luke did the second time, and I wish I did, But in terms of the quieter moments, like, and some of the other characters we can get to, I liked the whole relationship with Baz. Is that his name? Baz Luhrmann?
Baz Luhrmann. Basil Shaw.
What's his name? Basil Shaw.
Basil Shaw. Yeah. Toby Jones.
All right. Yeah. Where do I know that guy from? He's the most recognizable actor. I have no idea.
He's in the Marvel movies. He's like Arnon Zola. He's like the guy with Red Skull. He's like Red Skull's assistant. Okay. He's scientist from the first Captain America, and plus he's in like every other movie under the sun. Yeah, he's in everything.
Right. Okay. I don't think I remembered him from First Avenger, to be honest. But yeah, he's a super recognizable face. Yeah, I liked that whole thing with him, particularly that scene where they have the big argument over destroying the dial. And that was a really cool moment where it's like the ethics of the archaeology coming into it a little bit, where it's like, it's a powerful device, it makes perfect sense to destroy it. He feels strongly about it. And Indy's like, yeah, of course, I'll destroy it. But dude, he's Indiana Jones. This man, like, wears a t-shirt all day that says it belongs in a museum. Like, that's his life's catchphrase. It's going to be on his tombstone. So of course,
I'm so glad he said it as well.
Yeah, for sure.
He says the line.
Yeah. So in that way, like, it's always been a cool element of his character. We've talked about it in these past reviews for sure. But, like, in a way, like, in that particular plot thread anyway, it feels like that it's never been more relevant to him in terms of the dial itself and why this whole thing starts. So yeah, I like that a lot. I like a lot of the quieter moments. I don't know why Baz shot him. That was kind of weird, but
because he couldn't aim.
Because he couldn't. He was trying to shoot the Nazi. He missed.
Yeah, he's a dick. What other characters did we have here? I feel like.
Do we want to talk about Fleabag?
Yeah, I feel like Fleabag probably deserves a big shout.
Yeah.
Let's go to
Phoebe
Fleabag. So I have it
Waller-Bridges.
written down as Wallaby, but I'm also very happy to just continue
Wombat.
the
Wombat.
conversation with Wombat, not Wallaby.
No, it was Wombat.
So we have a few different options here we can choose from of what to call it, but I'm happy with Fleabag. Sure. Yeah, I knew she was in the film. She was in it a lot, though. Like, she was... Is there an argument to be made she has more screen time than Indy? It's close, I feel like.
No, probably not considering the prologue.
True.
Like, that's 20
She's
minutes
in
on a bit.
She there was a lot of her in this movie, though. Like, more than
Yeah.
I even could have imagined. Yeah. How do we feel about her?
She was fine. I think one thing this series hasn't been able to do is give me a convincing companion. I know a lot of people will make the argument for Short Round, but like even he was just he was just a kid. But in terms of like the older people that join him, there hasn't really been a solid one, and like she kind of feels a bit above average, but still kind of on par for that. Where I'm like, I can kind of buy into her story of like the father and like her kind of history of being interested in archaeology, more so than the characters were interested in the Crystal Skull at least. But like, still, I didn't care too much for her.
Yeah, I thought that like Phoebe Waller-Bridges, like I think her performance was good. I think I was sort of listening to an interview, and that this movie was like, because it was shot on such a long time, I sort of get the impression that some scenes she like had a different mindset when she acted them. And so it sort of seemed a little bit strange in comparison. Maybe that was just the way it cut. But so like I thought she was fine. I had problems with her character though. Like it really bugged me, and I didn't really think it would. It bugged me that she was a thief. I really hoped that she would be like, she was taking up archaeology after her dad, and her dad imbued this passion of archaeology in her, and she wanted to find the dial as this sort of closure with her relationship with her father. It really annoyed me that she was a bad guy. I think a lot of people, some criticisms of her character are pretty much just like, the whole idea that she's, resourceful and independent and a bit of a smart ass. It's like, I would have taken all of those characteristics and I would have been so like totally fine with them if her motivation wasn't selfish. Like, I know they sort of tried to turn it around with her because she kept Teddy and, like she had a bit of a good side, but it really bugged me that she was sort of a thief the whole time. I really hoped, like when they were doing that auction scene, I was like, I really hope it gets revealed that she's only done this to get closer to another bit of like archaeological artifacts that she can then put in a museum. But the fact that she was sort of like, I'm just going to sell this was like really bugged me. It really bugged me that happened.
Yeah,
I don't know what you guys thought about that.
I don't disagree with that, especially because I mean, it doesn't bother me like in itself that she started selfish, but I don't think the movie did a great job at giving her this sort of, I don't know, redemption or like this arc of her becoming someone more selfless or becoming someone different. Like, it didn't really work for me. I feel like the most significant moment we get of that, to my recollection, is when you realize when she looks like she sold out the clue to Mads, but she has the dynamite behind her. That was sort of the biggest moment I can remember of like, oh no, she's cool. But then that was like halfway through the movie, and then it sort of just, it feels like they sort of dropped the whole her arc.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was weird to me. It didn't feel like a super consistent progression throughout of like we see her changing slowly or anything like that. It was sort of just like what, like literally by the last frame of this movie, I'm like, I still don't really like you that much.
Yeah.
Like you're still
I
kind of
totally
a bit
agree.
shitty.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'm meant to feel that way, but it was kind of, I don't know. It was a bit muddy for me, but I think Phoebe's a really charismatic actor, but it was more in the writing stuff. I was like, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I don't know, because she's really different to other companions, because she's the first one that like feels like she's kind of leading and is not just kind of along for the journey. Like even the dad, who was also like an expert archaeologist, he was kind of subject to Indy's like, adventures and whims and stuff, and she feels like an expert in her own right.
Yeah,
so
she's the one driving it,
weird.
and Indy's along for the ride. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit of like a flip, I guess. I don't know. I'm glad it was different, I guess. I mean, ideally Shia LaBeouf would have came back, but
Did you see that
Yeah.
review that Andy put in the Discord, Liam?
Maybe.
Where it's like, I love the way they use Shia LaBeouf in this movie.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
they just killed him off.
That was sad. That was sad. Lockie had the idea. Like, he thought Shia LaBeouf might have shown up in the movie. Like, he said that as we were walking out. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, why made you say that? And then he's like, oh, yeah, but they could have used the dial. And I'm like, oh, I actually didn't think of that. Like, that actually could have happened.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
because the whole point is that Harrison makes the point that he's like, oh, I would use the dial to go back and stop my son from enlisting. And it's like, I didn't think they would do that. But it's like, oh, they did sort of leave that. Like, they did say that. Like, that could maybe have been a possibility for the ending. But nonetheless, Rip Shire. Unfortunately, Rip Shy. What do we call it?
Shy. Mutt.
Mutt. Oh man, that was honestly a bit sad. That was a bit sad. I don't know. I was like, damn, I didn't want that guy to die. He was kind of cool.
I think I prefer the relationship between Shire and Indy than I do Fleabag and Indy. Because like in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, it was like Indy was the teacher and he was like teaching him all these things. And I think I preferred that dynamic. I thought it was, it showed that Indiana Jones had this archaeological passion that had sort of been semi-ignored in the previous movies. And it's like, it seems like this movie could have been a good opportunity to do that. Because, Indy's like retired. So it's like, it's all he knows everything he needs to know. And it seemed like there was a lot of that there was in the trailers that was cut. Like there were scenes in the trailers where Fleabag and Indy were like, they pushed a lever and a boulder went. And so it's like, I imagine
really?
I imagine the scene that would have been like, this is when they're walking into the ear of Dionysus or whichever. And it's like, the perfect scene could have been they're walking in and Harrison goes, no, stop. And then pushes a lever and then the boulder rolls. And he could say something like, oh, I've been there, done that. Like they could have had an opportunity of like, transferring the knowledge from the previous, and it could have been a throwback to the originals. It seems like they did film it, but it might have just got cut. And I sort of wanted a little bit more of that relationship.
Yeah, that's a good point. It does seem like, I mean, it is clear that there was some production stuff going on with this movie, because I know when we walked out of the theater, was it you that noticed, Jan, or was it, I don't recall, about the mistake you noticed in the cave sequence? In terms of how it was put together.
Yeah, Andy just realized, or maybe it was Hindle actually. I think it might have been Hindle.
Yeah, I think it was.
He realized that like the bridge was repaired after it was broke.
The bridge wasn't. They repaired the bridge themselves. So if you actually watch that scene a second time, you'll see that the guy who shoots the gun at the start, like the real sort of prick, he's actually holding a rope on the side that's holding the bridge up. So eat shit, Andy.
Oh, okay. All right. So it's like, if you pay attention, you realize there's a mistake. But if you pay even more attention, you realize it's not a mistake.
You realize it's not a mistake, yeah. But like, I only noticed that the second time. I did not notice that the first time.
Okay. Interesting.
Because I remember watching it the first time, yeah.
I think there was something else that I pointed out after that.
There was too. I don't remember what it was.
Shit, what was it?
You said there was something that you thought that didn't make sense. Either way, though, like whether it sounds like there was some logic there that makes sense, so that's good. But either way, though, I feel like, you understand what I mean? Like if they shoot footage of like the guy holding up the rope and they managed to shove it in there in the edit, but it sounds like there's footage there that like it was meant to be larger or something. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. It sounds like some of this stuff was coming together interestingly in the edit. So yeah, I don't know. That's kind of interesting, I guess. What about, dude? I swear to Jesus Christ, I've got 0% idea what this guy's name is. Short round knockoff kid. What is this guy's name?
Teddy.
Did you guys know that?
Didn't care for him.
Outside of Luke? I just want to know.
Oh, no,
did you know his name?
No chance.
Jane's not admitting anything, so I assume he didn't know.
They're just in the darkness, just meditating.
Yeah, sorry, Luke, go for it.
Oh, I didn't care at all for Teddy. They were trying to do an arc when they got to Sicily, when it was like,
yes,
he was looking at
weird.
all the like wealthy kids, and he was like, "Oh, I wish I had that." And then like it was one scene that they completely abandoned. So it was like, it seems like they could have been more. And then it's like, yeah, that's one of those. I mean, I think one of the things that this film suffers from is it's far too many underdeveloped side characters, like that. The African American FBI or CIA agent at the start of the film, completely unnecessary character. Did not have to have her there at all. And then it's like Antonio Banderas was like,
Oh
they-
yeah,
that whole
that was atrocious.
that was so strange. Like Puss in Boots, what was he doing there? And so when you were talking about the runtime before, Zach, the first time I left that movie, I was like, do you know what they could have done? They could have had that instead of going to the boat to go down to collect something to go to another place, they should have got that information another way. They should have gone to a museum, or they should have done some sort of they should have removed that middle step and just gone straight to the other point. And it's
Right.
because it was just, it seemed even weird, when they're driving away and Fleabag's celebrating, and then Indy's just like, my friend just got shot. And I was like, oh, shit. I guess we're going to...
That was weird.
Yeah.
That was weird.
That was
felt
really weird.
It felt way too meta, and Harrison Ford's talking to me or something. It was mate, it's Indiana Jones. What, are you trying to deconstruct the genre? It was odd. It didn't make any. Yeah, that was a weird reaction to me.
Yeah,
I totally agree.
Yeah.
How'd we get off Short Round Kid? I guess there's nothing else to really to say about Teddy.
Well, the side characters in general. I mean, even Mads Mikkelsen was just not that interesting, or underdeveloped as yes, Jaden.
Sorry, before we jump to the villain, because I feel like we'll spend some time there.
Okay.
Teddy did kind of get his wish of wealth, but not a monetary wealth. He kind of got this family wealth.
If you say some rubbish like he found a family and that's the true wealth, I'm going to drive to your house and slap you in the face.
That's what it was. Yeah. So that arc was kind of fulfilled, although it's hollow. It did kind of complete it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great point about the first scene with him in Sicily, Luke, because we've already been with him in the movie for I don't know, maybe 45 minutes at that point. Just nothing yet so far. He's just here. I'm like, okay, whatever. And then 45 minutes after knowing him already, it's not his intro scene, it's nothing. Now we're in Sicily with him, and he's suddenly got this beef with rich kids or something. And I'm like,
I think,
or tourist kids.
I think from the start, they kind of established that he has this aspiration to get away. Because by showing us that he's an intellectual, that he's got all these skills, but it introduces us by showing that he wants to learn to fly, and he wants to get away from Marrakesh or whatever. He wants to get into a better place.
Yeah. That's
the Wright brothers. Yeah,
I think there's a thread there.
Yeah,
I think it's a pretty shaky thread, but I think there is one there.
Yeah. There's that also. There's another point of his character where when he's with Frogman, Antonio Banderas, and he's like, "Do you want to swim?" And he's like, "Oh no, I can't swim." And then Antonio Banderas is like, "Oh, you just need to push and pull, push and pull." And then it cuts to when Teddy's handcuffed to the big Russian guy or the big German guy in the water, and he's swimming, and he says the line push and pull, but it was so weird. I only noticed that was the interaction the second time going around. When I saw him swim, I was like, I thought they made a big deal about the fact that he couldn't swim, and now he can swim. So it's it was really strange. It seems like a lot of things got cut with that character.
I mean, it's already fucking 2.5 hours. I mean, fair enough.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, any other side characters before I'll make the distinction to the villain, actually. That's a good point. Antonio Banderas, totally agree.
I wish that Sala was in there more.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Good shout, James.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, if they want to do an impactful death kind of thing, you can just replace Antonio Banderas' death with Sala's death, and then it actually means something.
But to be fair, Sala's got a full family, so if he died, it would be too devastating.
Oh, yeah.
That's too devastating for Disney.
It would almost be a bit too depressing for an Indiana Jones movie. But the way they introduced Banderas, and they were just kind of friends, and then the way he just died in the boat was just really pathetic, man. I was and the line, "My friend just died," and then they kind of move on. Was really?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's 80. He should be used to friends dying.
Oh, man.
Oh, Christ. I mean, Jonesy died. A lot of them died. Basil. Who's the one from Last Crusade? Who was his friend from Last Crusade? Who died in real life?
Oh, I know exactly who you mean, but I've got no idea what his name is. The other old guy is with him and the dad.
Yeah.
The clueless one.
Yeah. Oh.
The other professor.
He's also standing on the
Yeah,
cliff.
the other professor.
Yeah. This movie, this franchise sort of does have a side character problem, in my opinion, outside of course, the legendary Dr. Henry Jones Sr., incredible, best side character of all time. And then from there, it's like a cliff.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know,
Yeah.
man. I don't know who these people are.
I don't think.
No?
I
Sorry?
I disagree with that.
Who stands up? Who stands up? Max pretty good.
I don't know. Like, I just like.
Jonesy!
Like, there's someone in every film that I like. Maybe apart from this one, like in terms of side characters, even like his son in Crystal Skull is good, and Marion coming back.
Oh no, that's
good.
fair. That's true. That is true. Any? I want to avoid jumping to the ending too. Were there any others? Because I very well could have missed some cameos or some references or something. I don't know.
How about that random CIA agent at the start of the film in crutches? What the hell's up with him? Do you remember that guy?
A collection of that.
He was the handler for Mads Mikkelsen, and he had like a cast, and he was like walking around with a broken leg.
And he got out of the car and he was slow to get in the building.
Yeah, and he got crushed by the shelves, and that's it. Never seen from, heard of again.
Oh,
okay.
Well, when they did like when they started the movie, like on Moon Day or whatever, I thought they were almost going to do like a Groundhog Day type thing, where like he has to like restart.
Oh, like he could, like the way he woke up.
Yeah, it felt very Groundhog Day-ish, and like the movie's about time travel, so I was like, yeah.
Oh, okay, interesting. Oh, that's cool.
Mm.
I don't know. Would I have hated that or liked that? Yeah,
I would have hated it.
I thought it would be a shit.
Yeah, we would have hated that.
Okay, let's go to Mads then. I'm gonna throw this out there as the conversation starter. We'll see what happens. Number one Indiana Jones villain. Discuss.
No.
In terms of what?
Everything.
I think it was great acting. Like I think he was it was good acting. I think the character was strange. I think visually it really bugged me throughout the whole movie that he had no deformities after getting hit with the train pole.
Yeah.
How the hell did he survive that?
I was expecting a scar. I was expecting false teeth or anything. Like
Mads so often has his eyes fucked in some way in movies.
Yes,
yes.
Yeah.
Like this could be another one.
Like especially in Indiana Jones as well. So.
Yeah, at the start when you get introduced to him on Moon Day, and it's like, don't hand him anything on wheels. It has to be on a plate. And I was like, oh, that's a weird line. Are you going to specifically draw attention to the way he eats so that you can see that he has like razor sharp teeth or something or some sort of denture? Like, I thought, okay, this is the setup for that.
It's just because he's a bit of a prick.
Yeah, but but like disappointing that that's just it. The fact that they just showed up everywhere. I don't think he's the best Indiana Jones villain. I think the acting was great. Like I think he did the best he could given the character he was written. But the way that they just kept appearing out of nowhere after getting false directions and things like that, and the fact that
no.
I think the only reason why I think I could probably consider him as the best is because he's the only one I'm going to remember and do remember. Like other than the she-bitch from fucking Last Crusade, I do not remember any other villain.
What about the dude from Raiders who had the really long black suit and the black hat, and like he was like a creepy Nazi villain. Yeah.
Was he even the main villain?
Nah, he was the semi-main villain.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about Kali Ma, the King Temple of Doom?
No.
Would not have remembered that name. Don't remember
that's just what he
like.
said. Milaram or something, wasn't it?
Like they're just forgettable.
Yeah.
I think in the end, I think this character will be forgettable as well, but recency bias and also just modernity as well, knowing Mads Mikkelsen. I think that will keep it in my mind.
Yeah. I watched it the first time with my sister, and when she left, she was like, "Where have I seen that guy before?" And I was like, "Oh, here's Grindelwald in Harry Potter." And she was like, "Oh, that's right.
Oh, that's Johnny Depp." Oh.
Yeah. I need to clarify. I feel like I don't think he's very good. I think he's number one Indiana Jones villain. I just think the others they do nothing for me. But like this guy, number one, he's Mads. Period. Number two, like I feel like at least his motivations were unique and interesting in some way. Like we were talking about a bit when we got out of the theater. Like I've never heard of this idea of someone who's a hardcore Nazi but who like thinks Hitler did a shit job, so he wants to replace him. Kind of cool. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. Like in terms of motivations, cool. Definitely the best that this series has ever given me. yeah. Right. So yeah, man. You know what? Yeah, I agree. Hitler sucked. Let's do it. Yeah.
Is that what he was trying to do? Like he said he was trying to kill Hitler in 1939 or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So he wanted to be the new Führer.
Oh, is that? Oh,
okay. Because he's a math whiz and he's a genius. Right. And he can calculate.
He thinks he would have done better.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's actually cool.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that. Like the MacGuffin of the film had such a strong mathematical foundation. That was awesome. I loved it.
Yeah. I was wondering how you'd take this. I was going to say I was wondering whether you'd complain about it like Crystal Skull or whether you'd like accept it.
But like Crystal Skull didn't go to the efforts that this film did to ground it in science.
Yeah, because Crystal Skull didn't take 2.5 hours.
That's a good point. But no, I totally loved that it was like he was a physicist and a mathematician, and he's like, it's and not magic, it's science, and a Nazi. Oh, well, I don't like that bit, but I thought that was great. I thought that was really good. I really liked that, and I knew that you would bring up freaking Crystal Skull. I knew it.
Go
back to that.
Do you guys agree with Andy's comment about how the Nazis feel too plain to be Nazis?
Yeah. Well, I think like that comes from like Mads not being goofy or not having the scar or whatever, and they do feel like they're trying to disguise themselves, but I don't. They don't feel like Indiana Jones Nazis, but that's not necessarily bad, I guess.
I do think it also just comes with the fact that they're not, German Nazis. They're Yankee revivalists as well.
Oh, you mean the near?
The
like
yeah.
I thought it was funny. He was like learning German. It was like learning to be a Nazi.
Saturday school.
I've got to ask though, how as someone who knows jack shit about this, like how feasible is the dial? Like I know it's grounded in math, but like, is it? Are you saying that like that can happen, or like I've got no?
No,
I don't know.
No. There's well. Let's entertain the idea that it could possibly exist. There's no way that Archimedes would have discovered it with their mathematics. Like it had no like if something like that had to exist, it would need to include special relativity or string theory or something like that. So there is no chance Archimedes could have made that.
But
that's like entertaining the idea that there's no time fissures. That's not a thing.
No, but is there a reality where mathematics can create some form of time travel in the future? Potentially, like you know what I'm saying? It's like the logic, regardless of the timeline or whatever. But
you can travel to the future. You can't really travel to the past. That's the problem. So no,
that's the only thing they did. So
yeah,
that's all they had.
Well, they went back to the future.
That too.
We gotta go back.
Yeah, exactly. I thought them going to ancient Rome was dope. I'm not going to lie. Like that when they come out of the cloud, like I don't know how feasible it is that the math genius didn't consider whatever that geological movement.
Oh yeah, the continental
drift.
drift. Yeah, that's nuts.
I don't know how he didn't consider
the thing is
anyway.
that didn't matter anyway because they ended up where they wanted to be, just fucking, a couple hundred years too early.
Yeah, so not at all where they wanted to be.
No, but like
that wasn't the whole point.
Sorry, the dial was built only to go to that point. Sorry, that's what I meant. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, okay, right.
So he thought he was right.
So the calculations being wrong didn't actually matter.
Yeah.
I feel like that could have been something that Indiana Jones just said to like trick him, to be like, or not to trick him, but to make him doubt the mathematics.
I mean, continental drift wouldn't even be that significant. Like a couple hundred years.
Yeah. Which I think maybe Indy knew that, but it's like they didn't really set it up enough.
Yeah.
But I didn't actually realize that the place that they went to was the Battle of Syracuse. That was what he was lecturing at the start of the movie.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that until the second rewatch. I was this is just like where Archimedes is.
Like gimmick. Yeah.
Yeah, but like when they were talking about they were talking about like the claws that would bring ships up, and they were talking about the mirrors that would reflect the sun. They were all in the battle. I didn't actually see that until I saw it the second time. I just thought they were random ships firing cannons and things like that. But you could actually see the claws, and you could see the massive mirrors that they had on top of the castles and things
Did
like
you figure out that old bloke that came up to Indy was actually Archimedes?
Was it Archimedes? Yeah, I did. I managed to gather that because they called him
was
Archimedes.
that a second viewing thing, or was that a first viewing?
No, that was the second they walked through they went through the portal. I was like, oh, they're about to meet Archimedes.
But just not at his one home that he lived at his entire life.
No.
I thought it was a fantastic choice. I don't know. To me, this sort of it felt like it was just such a cool idea. It felt right, like to send Indiana Jones literally back to the time periods he loves. It's kind of cool.
I also like the fact that he wanted to die there, and I thought the movie would let him. But then I also love the fact that like Fleabag was like, "No, you're a fuckhead," and took him back. Yeah,
that actually was an interesting conflict because I didn't like thinking about it. I didn't know which is truer to the character, you know. And the movie obviously made its choice, but in the moment, I was sort of like, maybe there is an argument to be made for this. Like, I don't know, but it was interesting.
The first time I watched it, it was a bit like it caught me off guard, especially because the film ends so soon after that. But it felt a bit better on the second watch. Yeah,
that is true because you sort of feel like you're in. Yeah, like based on the tension of the scene when he's deciding, and you wouldn't realize there's like 2 minutes left in the movie at that point, just based on where the climax sort of is.
Yeah,
that's true. But yeah, anyway, but he does get brought back by Fleabag, and then we have this final scene, which I read was reshot. I don't know how true that is, but I don't know. Maybe we're going back to Kingdom of the Crystal Skull Marion territory with the wedding, but like. I feel like I'm just misunderstanding this franchise. I feel like I'm meant to think Marion is the heart to this whole thing, and like her showing up at the end is perfect, or like I don't know. I just don't really feel it, you know.
Yeah,
that's just me though.
Yeah, it did feel a bit strange. I mean, it was a nice callback to Raiders when they did the "Where doesn't it hurt? It doesn't hurt here. It doesn't hurt here." But I feel like they dealt with their relationship better in Crystal Skull. It feels like they sort of just shoehorned it in as a sort of, hey, remember this character? She's back, sort of thing.
So to you, it didn't even feel super sentimental then. Is that the case?
I mean, if they had talked about her a little bit more throughout the movie, maybe. But
okay,
not as impactful.
Like Indiana Jones mentions her when he's talking about the son who died and how it changed the marriage and stuff. So I think it made sense. It didn't feel weird or anything.
But as the ending of the movie, because like he was obsessed with the dial for majority of the movie, and then for the movie to end with him with Marion, it's like I feel like you need to talk about Marion a bit more. Like I know that he said the speech about going back to save the marriage, and when he was with Sala was like, "Do you want me to call Marion?" And he was like, "No, don't call Marion. She doesn't want to talk to me." And then there was a few conversations between Fleabag and Indy when it was like, how's that marriage going for you, sort of thing.
I think it makes sense, but like emotionally, it sort of falls flat. Like I don't see the argument because Fleabag's whole thing at the end and like I think the emotional argument in the movie is that like, well, this is where he's meant to be. He's meant to be here in this time period right now with Marion because that's his, you know, that's the heart of the character. That's the ultimate ending for the character. But I don't know. I just never really felt that way about him and Marion. I don't see it. I don't really understand like, and maybe adding more, like you're saying, Luke, and throughout the film would help. I don't understand. Like when they're together at the end, when they're embracing together, it's like, oh, you know, this is where they're both meant to be. I just never really felt that.
I think it leans a little bit more into the theme of Indy being obsessed with history and learning to live in the present. So if it's viewed more so as he can't change the past, he can't live in the past, he needs to move on with his life, then you can say, okay, it makes sense for him to go back to Marion. But yeah, like the emotional impact of them being together doesn't to me fit as well. So you sort of need to view it as the film showing you that Indy is moving on is him going back to Marion. So maybe you're not meant to feel the emotion of Indy reconnecting. You're meant to sort of view it as the theme of acceptance and starting to sort of live in the present.
How did you feel about the ending though, Jad?
Fine, really. I'm not sure how, because the film is about, like what you said, is about the aging hero story, and like, you know, Mads brings up multiple times, you know, that we're men of the past, not meant for today, and it's very evident with like the whole space age race going on simultaneously, as these guys are both looking at the past so intently.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if it came to the right conclusion, but it did come to a conclusion that fits the story, I guess, about having to deal with the present as this kind of rugged old hero, and just, you know.
Yeah.
The ending where like Fleabag says like where Indy's like, who am I staying for? And then it like kind of the camera like lingers on Fleabag. Isn't the film saying that like she's his hair, like he's supposed to stay for her?
Well,
And
yeah,
then-
because she does need the father figure.
yeah, and
That he
then
was
Marion is just kind of like a nice addition at the end.
She's a bonus.
She's
She's the
plus
cherry on
one.
top. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't take it that way at all. Okay. All right. Interesting.
Yeah.
Because I don't think the film's saying he's got to stay for Marion. I don't think that makes sense. But
No.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Okay.
Well, you see, I was watching that, and I thought that that's what the film was saying. I thought the film was saying Indy's going to stay for Fleabag, but then to me, I was like, well, that doesn't really make sense. You haven't earned that. You haven't earned that with the relationship that Fleabag has, and you haven't really shown that Fleabag needs direction. In fact, you've done the opposite to show that Fleabag is resourceful and independent.
If anything, Fleabag needs to stay for Harrison because she bloody saved him and needs to care for him, you know?
yeah. She does have that kind of caretaker.
I think it's meant to be all of them
Yeah.
just filling in a family. Her, Teddy, Marion, even Salah and his kids. I think it's all just meant to be, this is what you're staying for.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. I think the fact we even have to debate it probably isn't a great thing in terms of the execution. But yeah, it's interesting to think about for sure.
You know, it was actually really weird with Salah. The fact that there was a line that specifically said the kids are, you know, American and whatever
Egyptian.
race or Egyptian, you're right. And he's like the right way, and it just felt really like a backhanded type of thing to say there's a wrong way to do immigration. And like it felt like super, like, you know, it's like we did it the right way. You know, we're not queue jumpers.
Is that when he says? Is that when he says this man helped us get into America the right way? Or is he? Or did he say it in the context of we're raising our kids to know our Egyptian heritage?
Yeah. But it just still felt like super, like, kind of backhanded. Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually that's a good point. Oh man, Salah. That was the same actor, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure because I'm not gonna lie. Like, if you told me it wasn't, I would have believed you was. No offense to this guy.
That's Gimli.
Is it actually Gimli?
Yeah.
Gimli.
Oh, really? I had no idea. Wait, so hang on. Wait, what's going on racially there? Is Gimli?
He's not. I don't think he's Egyptian. But back in the 80s, I don't think they cared.
Understood. But in 2023, they still don't care, evidently.
Well, I mean, you got to carry it through.
He's Welsh.
Disney.
And to be fair, like, the character's treated with a decent amount of respect, you know.
Yeah, no, that's fair. All right. What about the score? How do we feel about Mr. John Williams still rocking up to this goddamn to this orchestra and then pumping it out?
I think for a franchise that has lent on this score so much in the past, it was disappointing not to hear as much of it in this one. I think there was...
In terms of the main theme?
Yep. I think this film should have lent on the main theme much more than it did. I don't know if it was worried to do it. I feel like everyone was there for the main theme. Like, everyone was... This is like the fifth movie, and it's after however
Really?
long... Yeah. It's like, I feel like one of the whole selling points of this movie is welcome back, like Indiana Jones back one last time. It's like they should have leaned on that theme. So, like, that theme should have been not in every scene because that's a bit ridiculous. But I needed to hear much more of that theme.
Yep. This is their Force Awakens moment, you know, in terms of the return after X amount of years to the cinema. And, yeah, embracing the score, I think, is an important aspect of it. in terms of feeling more of like a celebration. And I think the score was really good, but it felt like, I don't know, it felt like the score to an Indiana Jones movie that came out 2 years after the last one, as opposed to the release schedule of what this is, which I think should be considered, to be honest. But yeah.
No, yeah, I agree. That wasn't. I mean, did they have like new themes? Do they do villain themes in this series? It's more just like sounds and shit. I don't know.
Yeah, not to my knowledge. But
I know they made a theme for Fleabag. Fleabag has her own theme,
Oh, really?
but I don't know about Maz.
Maybe if she gets a theme, I'm sure Mads would have got one.
hopefully. Is the track called Fleabag?
No, it's called Helena's theme. Unfortunately,
Oh no.
Oh,
Who the fuck's Helena?
Wallaby.
Wombat.
Oh man. In terms of laughs in the movie, I'll just quickly shout out. I think Jaden and I enjoyed the present being handed to the homeless guy, and
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that was fucking funny.
I also enjoyed eels. That was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah,
Because
Yeah.
let's be honest, eels are just snakes that swim, man. It's like my argument with emus just being dinosaurs that exist today. You know,
Yeah.
it's like if you're scared of dinosaurs, you're scared of emus. Don't.
No. You can't use one very valid argument to justify your bullshit.
Mate, come on. So no, it was really funny because the second that they said the word eels, I'm like,
Eel.
oh, that's great. I know where this is going. So that was a fun homage as well, of course.
And they brought the insects back. They kept the tradition alive.
Oh yeah, I actually forgot about that.
yeah.
Yeah.
I wish there was more of
well
those
done.
tomb raiding scenes. I wish they'd done a
Spooky,
little
did
bit
you know
more.
there's a whole franchise built off that specific premise?
Yeah, but not as good.
Whoa.
Oh. Andy wrote in a review for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. One of you guys read this? Oh no, Luke, you've read it. Can you approve censorship-wise for me right now?
Yeah,
Before
yeah.
I start.
We're A-okay. There's an
Thank you
extended
very much.
version on Letterboxd, but you can
No,
just
we
read
don't. We do not do extended versions.
Yeah.
This is already. Wait, hang on. Am I reading? I'm not reading the extended version, am I?
I don't.
No,
think so.
no. You should be lucky that you're not.
No offense, Andy. I wished I could properly focus on this particular viewing of The Dial of Destiny because I haven't eaten dinner beforehand, which caused me to immediately consume an entire box of popcorn within the first act. And I drank an entire cup of Pepsi Max, which led me to hold on throughout most of the middle until this is great. For context, we were there with Andy, just for context, which made me run off to the toilets before the third act climax approached. I quickly came back approaching towards my seat like a cockroach. I think some of you guys might recall. Yeah, I do recall. I thought it was hilarious. It was the most I laughed in the movie when Andy crawled back to his seat, literally. Despite a fairly eventful screening, I wasn't able to take much of the overall film in due to my plain hungry boy issues. So I won't say much on here as an excuse to fill the episode runtime. Well, if Dr. Luke is on, then we can worry less. Yeah, Andy, you're doing that anyway. Don't worry about it. James Mangold's Dial of Destiny was a passable entry. Should I have just started? Actually, I probably should have just started there.
Yeah, I think yeah.
Whatever, it's fine. We were there, so that makes it more fun. James Mangold's Dial of Destiny was a passable entry, but it was an Indiana Jones film that lacked the pure cinematic sweat Spielberg simply provided for the earlier films. While Mangold can conjure up amazing action sequences that can give you a gigantic sense of thrill, he simply doesn't have the same charm as Spielberg, especially when it comes to the overall spectacle. And it's probably because him and George Lucas came up with all of this on their own in the first place. Regardless, I'm absolutely delighted to have finally experienced Harrison Ford in an Indiana Jones film for the first time at the cinemas, even with a few inner distractions throughout. It's a shame Dr. Luke wasn't with me to see this, so I don't think I was getting the real Indiana Jones experience. My detailed review is on Letterboxd, where I sort of cover my thoughts in dot points and write a paragraph about the use of Nazis in the film, 6 out of 10. There you go. Go check out Andy on Letterboxd, the most popular Cinema Effect community member on Letterboxd, Andy. So go and check that out. He gave it a 6 out of 10. Interesting. Okay. Thank you, Andy. Should we get to our final verdicts, maybe? Perhaps. Perhaps, mayhaps.
Potentially.
Jaden looking as villainous as ever right there. What is your final verdict for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny?
I think it's got to be a 6 as well. For a series I wasn't overly attached to until the third entry, I think that kind of has to. I think that contributes to the kind of overall kind of score. You know, if I was more attached to it, I might have been more willing to look at this in a positive light. Not that 6 is a negative light, but you know, it's a par kind of perspective.
Yeah, I feel you. Fitzy.
Yeah, I will also slap a 6 on it. I wasn't like super hyped for this film as well, I guess. But I think it kind of lived up to what I thought it would be, which is just kind of decent.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna slap a 5 on it. It's all the things we talked about. There's some things to appreciate, some things that don't work, but I really don't. The thing that probably drops it a bit more for me, I really don't want to underestimate how long some of these scenes are, man. Like I think you mentioned that in your initial Letterboxd thing, Luke, as well. Is that I'm no hyperbole when I say some of these action set pieces we didn't even talk about a chunk of them, like
The car chase,
the car chase.
taxi car chase, dude. That shit could have been cut in like almost cut 2/3 of it.
Speaking of side characters, the fiance thing, complete side character that we totally forgot about.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
You know, the one Fleabag's partner that she married to get the ring.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Totally forgot about that. Yeah, so some of this stuff really could have just been chopped out, in my opinion. But yeah. Anyway, Luke, this is it. This is your moment.
This is
Indiana
it.
Jones fan number 1.
Oh.
No. This is I like this movie. I think that there's things in this movie that I wish I could sort of change that would have made me give it a higher score. Like Fleabag's character and some other things. I think it is a little long on the long side. It didn't affect me as much the second rewatch, but definitely on the first time, I was like, oh, this is sort of dragging on. But I still like it. It's still an Indiana Jones movie that, viewing it in a different way that I do the other ones, I can still enjoy. I'll give this a 7.
Makes a ton of sense. You were definitely the most excited going in, and you got to see it with your name, which would definitely, no doubt, bringing up a point.
Yeah, definitely did.
Makes perfect sense. All right, very good. We completed the Indiana Jones saga, and we'll get back to it in a little bit.
Ranking?
Actually. We'll get back there. We'll get that. I guess I could reorder. No, let's not reorder the segments. Let's stay status quo. So with that in mind, let's get into news chat. Just quickly, let's smash some trailers. We'll do Killers of the Flower Moon. Is Fitzy the only one who saw this?
Luke saw it, didn't you?
No.
Oh.
Is this the Martin Scorsese thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it looks... it got me more interested than the first kind of teaser did, I guess. It's... I guess it's about this oil land and this... I don't know. People trying to claim it from this family, the Osage family, I think. It's Native American family. And I think the movie's also like about the birth of the FBI, which is interesting. So hopefully it'll be like a big, Irishman type saga where it covers, there's like this institutional focus, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
it sounds like it will.
Yeah, no, the trailer was pretty good though. We had De Niro and DiCaprio doing different accents and shit, so it was good.
Oh, really? What's he doing?
I don't know. It was just strange. It was strange.
Like it was a Yankee. It was an alternate Yankee accent. He wasn't like trying to.
Yeah. I guess so. I've never heard De Niro speak like that. So
very good. I'm very excited for the film. What about The Nun 2? Jaden saw this one.
Yeah, this came up as a YouTube ad for me. I didn't even know like there was a trailer coming out. And I started watching it. It just seemed like a horror movie. I was like, oh, this seems pretty sick. And I kept on watching it. And I was like, as it goes on, I was like, oh wait, is this The Nun? And then sure enough, it was revealed it was. And like, it was just super solid. Like, just wasn't expecting it at all. Because like the first Nun film, I'm partial to it because it's Conjuring verse and I love that stuff. But like, it wasn't the strongest. But I don't know. This one looked great because it's set in like this creepy like girls' school type thing instead of like a convent. So it's that like that. Like horror films set in schools are always cool. Creates a lot of opportunity for what you can do using this kind of mix of like student and staff characters. And I was really happy with this trailer. Yeah, I thought it was sick. Nice,
very good. Do you have any inclination as to this where it places in the number of Conjuring universe films at this point.
Films in the universe, or like timeline
Yeah.
wise? Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9 maybe.
Whoa, that's huge.
Is she the one in Conjuring 2?
Yes. Yeah. The
Wow.
nun is the
Good
Is
for
that
them.
separate to the Insidious franchise?
Yep. Because there's a new one of that coming out too.
And the horror movie of the century, Jaden, I'm sure you're, waiting on the edge of your seats. Five Nights at Freddy's.
Oh, I'm so keen for this. That looks so good.
Did you see the trailer for that?
I saw the first trailer, but I think they released a second trailer. I didn't see.
Yeah, they released a
Yeah.
second trailer last week. It looks exactly what I would expect this movie to be.
Not dog shit?
Yeah. I think there's a lot of lore associated to Five Nights at Freddy's, and I think the film is like playing a bit with it. So that wasn't something I was aware of. I thought it was just like a game and the animatronics come alive. But I think there's like a whole plot about buying the franchise and the owners and the makers of the animatronics and things like that. So I think they're touching on that. But I think it'll be about as fun as Violent Night, Zach. That's my expectation for it.
Oh,
It'll be better than that because this is a Blumhouse production. But yeah, on the lore thing, yeah, apparently each product kind of deals with it differently, where like they kind of add or omit or kind of manipulate the lore. So I think this is meant to be like a case of like it's going to kind of be like a partner to the series, I think is what I heard.
Okay.
There was a new June Part 2 trailer. Was it just Spooky you saw this? Oh, no, Fitzy saw it as well, I think.
I saw it on Twitch. Yeah.
Nice. What, is an ad as well?
Yeah, they spammed me with it.
Yeah.
So
So you've seen it multiple times.
Hmm.
What'd you guys think of this one?
It doesn't get me excited to watch it, but I'll watch it. Like, I don't like the trailer was so. Well, like it's weird. There's nothing like I didn't finish watching that trailer going like, oh my god, I can't wait. It was sort of like I watched and I was like, okay, I'll watch it with everyone when we go to IMAX and see it. Like, it didn't have a sort of there wasn't anything in it that I was like, oh, this is like a brand new thing that they're going to introduce into this franchise.
yeah, no, I agree. It was a pretty average trailer. Like the first one kind of did its job.
Yeah, the movie doesn't come out until November, and there's already like I feel like the last one came out not long ago, so I don't know what they're doing with their trailer pacing. I've literally now, as Luke said the word IMAX, I've just had this epiphany. Does Luke's hat also double as an Oppenheimer hat?
Yeah, it does.
I think it does.
Death,
Yeah.
destroyer
Nice.
of worlds.
Nice.
Yeah, but you don't have like that kind of. I think you need to give it to Liam to kind of get like that bit more like.
Yeah, I don't have
like
that sort of like
gaunt kind of like
Yeah.
kind of like
the
straightness.
yeah. Totally agree.
Oh, yeah.
No offense. All right.
Yeah,
You
I
don't
don't
have the
look
eye
dead,
bags.
but
Yeah, you don't have the
Oh,
you don't have the
man.
sleep schedule of an Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
All right, now it's time for our highlights of the week. Do you guys want to choose for me? I don't really know what to do. You know, I feel like I've done a lot. You can choose for me, or should I just do the should I catch up my thoughts on the films you guys reviewed?
Oh yeah,
or-
catch up a bit. Yeah,
Do you want to do that?
yeah, I like that idea.
Yeah.
Okay. I couldn't. So obviously, I was going to watch the films. The two were I wrote in for Spider-Verse, but the hell were they? The
Blair Witch
Blair
and,
Witch Project and
Eternal
Eternal
Sunshine.
got there.
The Fitzy edits.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, true. I couldn't watch them while I was over there because I didn't think that would happen. But the streaming services are different. Like they weren't on any streaming services there. But then as soon as I got back, they were on services. So I watched them when I got back. And what I watched first, I watched Eternal Sunshine first, and I liked it. I thought it was good. Nothing mind blowing. You guys made the comparison to Punch Drunk Love in the episode actually, and that's sort of where it sits for me. Of like, I think it's better than Punch Drunk Love just because the concept is a bit more interesting. But in terms of like, I don't know, like emotional value, I thought it was a nice film. Basically, is sort of how I describe it. And Blair Witch Project, dude, that movie, I didn't enjoy it at all. I'll never watch it again. I thought it was really scary. Like I thought it was.
Yeah, that's because you're a
horrifying.
fucking pussy.
No, dude, I thought it was like 5 times more scary than The Conjuring. I'm not no joke. Maybe it's something about like just my sensibilities with the genre and like me not really. I don't really enjoy horror as a genre, so like, but something about this one and how bare bones it is stylistically and like it does really do a great job of making it feel like a real event, to the point where, like, just through the way that it's made and its intentionality, like, just through it, like, when they get to the goddamn, just literal, like, rocks and twigs and shit in the trees. Like, in any other horror movie, that would be the lamest shit ever. But I was scared shitless when they got to that part where there's the stupid little, like, signs hanging in the trees because of how grounded it felt. I'm like, dude, if I came across that and I was filming this, that would be the scariest shit I've ever seen in my life. So for that, I thought it was, like, really effective, actually. So one of the scariest films I've ever seen, honestly. Great episodes, by the way, though. Really enjoyed it. Told Jaden, but really enjoyed listening to them. It was a lot of fun. Fitzy, what have you been watching?
Well, Zach, you're gonna like this one.
Really?
Over the last month, I've been I finished uni and I was for the semester and I was watching Supernatural and I was like, I finished Line of Duty and that was a great show. So I was like, I gotta start another great show, but like a really great show.
Hang on, are you gonna?
So I watched Better Call Saul and I binged it
cool.
over the last month, and it's been excellent. It's been great.
Have you finished it?
Yeah, I finished it. Yeah.
Oh, amazing! Nice.
Oh wow, you bet me.
I'll say everything you said. Like the characters are like somehow even better than Breaking Bad. They're more, they're more like in depth, I guess. There's really interesting like situations, like him and his brother. The show's like really ambiguous about, like morally ambiguous. Like it's open, I guess, but I don't know. It's just an amazingly written show.
Yeah. How do you feel about the ending, and did you feel like it got better as it went? Like, what was sort of your trajectory with the seasons?
Yeah, I did think it got better as it went. It got more. It was the same kind of thing as Breaking Bad, I guess, where it's a similar structure. It got more intense. And that the first season is just kind of funny, I guess. It's like little adventures and stuff. But the thing they do in the show, not to spoil it, but like the thing that they're leading into was like really interesting, and I wanted how they handled it, and I think like for the most part they pulled it off. It just I didn't expect the idea of like being a con man to become like so serious, I guess, and over the show it just becomes more and more, you take it more and more seriously, and it kind of becomes a real thing, I guess. And
Yeah, I love how the show makes like the mundane or like sort of basic real life activities so tense and interesting all the time. Like I love the way they open every episode and you've got no idea what's happening, and then it always ends up making sense. Yeah, it's really cool.
And like the visual storytelling as well is like really amazing.
Yes,
just like getting everything from just reactions and stuff. It's like really awesome. Yeah.
100%. Oh, I'm glad. I'm not going to lie. I'm slightly disappointed because I thought you were setting me up to say you watched Black Sails.
Yeah, I
thought you were setting up that as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I thought you were setting up a little bit, but
I
no,
apologize.
that is right below it. So I'm very glad. We're pretty much. Oh no, Jane hasn't seen any of it, but like the Breaking Bad universe, it's all
I need to see everything bar one episode of Breaking Bad, and then everything of Better Call Saul.
You've seen one episode of Breaking Bad?
I've seen half an episode of Breaking Bad.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah. I've seen up to season 3 of Better Call Saul. Like I finished season 3 a few weeks ago, so I'm about to start season 4.
Oh, really?
So you played 120 hours of Zelda. We all know.
Yeah. No shame.
All right. Jaden, what have you been watching?
I rewatched Mission Impossible, but I feel like I've talked about that show on the show like 3 times already, so I guess I'll skip it. But I have been watching more Pokemon, and I finished the black and white era of the show. Actually, Spooky was on here last time I talked about it. Yeah. But yeah, so I've finished the black and white era, which is about, I don't know, 3 or 4 years of television, and then some of the movies. And I guess I'll talk about the movies since this is a movie podcast.
Yeah. You watched the Genesec one, right?
Yeah, the most recent one I watched was the Genesec, The Legend Awakened, or whatever it is. The thing is, you watch one Pokemon movie, you've seen most of them. You know, it's Ash and his companions, and then he finds a cute Pokemon, and he has to befriend the cute Pokemon to take on the evil big Pokemon. In the case of this movie, the cute Pokemon was a Genesect, and the evil one was also a Genesect, so there's a twist on the formula because they're both the same. But it was pretty standard stuff. The animation in the movies is kind of incredible, especially after watching fucking 160 odd episodes of the TV series and just seeing like the increase in quality. But I don't know. I do love Pokemon. I do love the things that they do with the movies, or despite the repetitiveness. And this one was quite fun. It was a step up from the last one I watched, whichever one it was.
All blend together.
Yeah. Actually, no, it wasn't a step up from the movie, but there was this 3-episode special in the middle of the series, about the you remember the Island God Spooky? I don't know if you remember that one.
The Thunderous, Landorus, and Tornadus.
Yeah, that was fucking awful because it felt like it was meant to be a movie, but they just couldn't be fucked. So they split into a few episodes, and that was dog shit. So this was a big step up from that one. So yeah,
I'm glad. How for an episode? I'm sorry, for a podcast called Cinema Effect. How well do you think going from Better Call Saul to Pokemon does for our audience retention?
Very well.
Janen's looking at the stats. He knows.
Yeah. I'm just saying, when I was in charge of the show, there was a big boost in fucking viewership.
No doubt, dude. I'm actually really scared for the next few weeks for my career at this point. Luke, Luke, what have you been watching?
I've been watching a few things, sort of half-heartedly. Like the new season of Utopia has been coming out, so that's that ABC show about the government. So I've been watching that weekly. And the new Marvel Secret Invasion show with Nick Fury.
Oh yeah,
that's been coming out. It's all right. I sort of went into it knowing I think this movie, the advertising and promotion for this TV series has been much lower than all the others, and I don't know if that's intentional or what, but I feel like they were releasing trailers for Miss Marvel and Moon Knight and She-Hulk and all that sort of stuff. Whereas they sort of released one trailer for this movie last year, or this TV series last year.
It was ages ago, yeah.
Yeah, and then never touched it again. So I sort of enjoyed that, not knowing what it was really about. So I've just been watching that every week, and that's been pretty good. Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
But I need to either commit to Better Call Saul and finish watching it, despite the fact that I've said it for the last month, or start watching all the Mission Impossibles. I don't know.
Well, you can do. You should do Mission Impossible first, and then go back to Better Call Saul.
Yeah, we'll see.
There was no confidence in this.
Yeah, maybe one day.
Very, very good. I was curious about Secret Invasion because I remember when we watched that trailer ages ago, I was into it. So, but I haven't heard like you saying. I haven't heard many opinions, but you saying it's all right, and I also haven't heard great things. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
I've honestly heard nothing about it.
It is a pretty good thriller. It's very different from all the other shows. It's like Winter Soldier in its sort of espionage and things like that. I feel like it'll be better if you can just watch it all in one go. I think that a show like this, the idea of a weekly suspense is just going to make people lose interest. I feel like wait till it finishes and then watch it all in one go. There's one big sort of spy thriller thing.
You're saying about 80 years of television history goes against that point, but...
Oh, but this is only a 6-episode thing.
Yeah, it's 6 again. Okay.
But no, it's been all right. It's been good.
Now comes the segment where we hand the show over to you with our question of the show. Last week, I asked you, what is your definitive favourite Indiana Jones film? I thought we can't go 2 weeks in a row without a question, so I'll just throw one in there that's we're going to talk about it anyway, so it'll fit in quite nicely, hopefully. Andy said, my definitive favourite Indiana Jones movie of all time has got to be Raiders of the Lost Ark. Please, I'm not looking for a debate. No matter how much Dr. Luke has convinced me about Temple of Doom or how much you hosts talk down this film, the first ever entry will always be the best one, not just to me, but to many people's eyes. The Last Crusade was just as perfect too. I also remembered rewatching the second half on Channel 10 that one night, and I appreciated it a lot more than my first watch. I didn't log it though because I didn't originally sit down to watch the whole thing. If it makes Dr. Luke feel any better, Temple of Doom was my third favourite. Indy and Short Round duo outshine the entire franchise. despite how annoying the overall sequel was. Brutal. The Temple of Doom. I want no one hating on our Temple of Doom review. We kind of liked it compared to that anyway. So yeah, thank you, Andy. I also want to come out and say that Race of the Lost Ark is the best movie of all time. And I apologise to everyone out there. That's my answer.
What's going on with that? Is that meant to be a joke? Is that?
I was bored. I was bored last night. So
and I couldn't read the tone. I was like, I can't tell if this is meant to be sarcastic. Like, I was pretty sure, but I was like, I don't know. Maybe being in Yankee Land,
I succeeded or not.
Maybe in Yankee Land, they convinced him.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I've been started saying words differently too, so you never know.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go to Fitzy. What is your favourite Indiana Jones film? Feel free to give your ranking, break it down however you like.
I think Temple of Doom is probably just my favorite. I think it's just a very special film, just kind of pure adventure, But The Last Crusade is close, definitely second, and then Raiders, and then Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and then this Dollar Destiny, I think. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So this one's last. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think Crystal Skull was more enjoyable. Still had that Spielberg flair,
Yeah. And that 2-hour runtime. Yeah. Jaden, what about you? We've come to the end of this franchise. It's been 5. Actually, I think it was one less month because we crammed them. But it's been a month-long journey, regardless.
Last Crusade at the top. Temple of Doom. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Dial of Destiny, Raiders.
Wow.
Gotcha.
Take.
Nice.
Actually, no, that's too harsh. Raiders above Dial of Destiny.
Interesting. I feel like, I don't know, Luke will have a finger on the pulse more. Like, are these hot takes? You know what I mean? I feel like the Indiana, do most people have a pretty clear idea of, Raiders is obviously number one?
It's either Raiders or Last Crusade.
Okay. All right, so Temple of Doom is kind of hot take. Okay.
Temple of Doom is usually third, followed by Crystal. And then I guess people are sort of figuring out where Dial of Destiny's going. But it's usually Raiders.
I've seen
Last
a
Crusade,
massive
Temple.
mixed bag of Dial of Destiny, to be honest.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
People put it fairly high, or?
Oh, just in terms of reviews, people call it solace, and then some people call it the most heart-filled thing in the world. And the difference in popular reviews on Letterboxd being 3s and 8s is staggering. So
my ranking is exactly the same as Jaden's. Wait, you put Dial of Destiny last year?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm 100% the same. I totally agree. Last Crusade is my favourite. Nothing beats bloody Sean and Harrison on screen, man. It was great stuff. Luke, Dr. Jones, I want to know your ranking, but I also sort of want to know, as doing this rewatch, getting our incredible takes, our incredible insights, intellectuals on the podcast, it all changed your view of any of these films as well.
My view on Crystal of the Kingdom Skull, the Skull one, that's definitely changed. I started hating that, and then I like that much more than I do now, or than I did then. Everything else hasn't necessarily changed my opinion. Rewatching Last Crusade, that was a movie that I never watched for some reason. I always watched Raiders and Temple, but I never watched Last Crusade that much.
Yep.
And so I've sort of been reintroduced to that. And I'm tossing up between Temple and Last Crusade as my number one. I think I like Temple of Doom more, but I think Last Crusade's a better film. Okay. So, but for the sake of creating a list, I'll say Temple of Doom is number one, and then it's Last Crusade, and then it's Raiders of the Lost Ark, then it's Dial of Destiny, and then it's Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. I'm interested to see more so. I think the top, the trilogy's always up there, of course, but I'm interested to see in a year, is the bottom film going to be Kingdom for most people, or is it going to be Dial?
Yeah.
I think that's sort of the main toss-up.
I think there's, it's actually difficult for me to figure out which one I like more, Dial or Crystal. Because I think I like the relationship between Shia LaBeouf's character more in Crystal than I do Fleabag and Indy. But then there's there's things that I like in one and hate in the other, and vice versa. But I think Dial of Destiny currently sits above Crystal.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, but does Dial of Destiny have a scene where Harrison Ford gets blasted by an atomic bomb in a fridge?
It doesn't.
In a testing site?
No.
So
Hang on, sorry, I'm not tripping. Jaden, you put Kingdom above Raiders, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. I'm just making sure because I feel like everyone will lose their minds, but I agree with that. Whatever. We'd love you to submit your responses, thoughts, reviews for next week's film in the YouTube comment section. Send us a DM on Instagram or join the Discord server. This week, we're asking you, if you could turn into any animal, what would it be? Let us know. This is going to be another one that's like, I feel like it's going to have some weird debate to it. I don't know. But we'll see. Let us know in the comments in all those places. All right. That's it for this week's episode of Cinema Effect. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Fitzy, what are we doing next week?
we're keeping it fresh, as Jen said earlier. And we're doing Nimona, a Netflix film, animated film. It's kind of come out of nowhere, at least to me. So, yeah. Looks interesting.
I've been seeing fucking Guillermo del Toro tweet about this for the past fucking 3 months, like non-stop.
Oh, really?
So a watch is well overdue, even though it's only just come out.
Is he like a producer who's got like financial incentive?
He just loves animated stuff, and he just retweets about about like every production aspect about it.
Okay.
I guess he did Pinocchio for Netflix, so maybe
Yeah, it could be.
they have him on advertising. Yeah.
Appreciate everyone listening. Appreciate being back here with you guys. Thank you, Jaden, for joining. Luke, for joining. Well, quit then. Quit. Have the balls. All right.
I think me and Liam are going to force you out.
Man, this could go so many different ways politically. They should make a show about this. I'm not going to lie. They get one of the documentary filmmakers in here to chronicle the inner drama of cinema.
Andy.
Who's going to be the successor
yeah.
of Cinema Effect? You know, like.
I don't know. Luke's in
Who
prime.
has the best story?
I mean, you're all nice
let's forget
people.
about the main cast. We'll forget about the main cast. Who has the better story amongst us?
I mean, you're all nice people, but you're not just you're not serious enough.
You're not serious people.
You're not serious people.
That's a good reference. You didn't? Did you listen to any of the spoiler section of that episode?
Oh, I listened to the whole thing. I'm pretty sure I did. Or maybe I stopped halfway. Actually, no, I think I
That's
stopped
actually funny.
halfway. I think I stopped before the spoiler bit. I think I did. Yeah.
Did you?
Oh, well, the
Yeah.
spoiler bit definitely started way before halfway, but okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm glad. I hope you did. Anyway, we'll see you all next week. Have a good one and goodbye.